Property development is tougher than ever, so it pays to take it seriously and know what you're getting into.
I think your budget is quite tight. I think your resale's quite optimistic. And it doesn't need very much movement from either of those figures before you've made no money at all on this.
The truth is, all over the country, first-time developers are risking everything they own by treating this very serious business as little more than a game.
It's a learning curve. This is our first big property, and it maybe we've bitten off more than we can chew.
There's a very dangerous side to property development. The idea that it's an easy way to make money lures thousands of people every year to take a huge gamble on a business they quite frankly know precious little about. And in today's extraordinary booming market, the temptation is to take bigger and bigger risks. Gym manager Matt Lawrence and his fiancée Michelle Francois are going for broke with this bungalow in the Surrey town of Ewell. They've sold their home and are spending every penny they own to double the size of the property. And that's quite an undertaking, as they don't know the first thing about property development.
We enjoy the idea of property development. It's not our background. We just enjoy it. Are we going to come unstuck? We'll see.
60 miles away in Aylesbury, photographer Stuart Randall and his wife Marge, a chef, are also taking a massive risk. Convinced they can cash in on this completely run-down Victorian terraced house, they've given up their careers and mortgaged themselves to the hilt.
You've got to take risks in life, otherwise, A, life isn't interesting, and B, it's the only way that you can actually achieve things.
On the face of it, Stuart and Marge should be in good shape because they already have one development behind them. But it didn't go too well.
So after your experience of your last dabble into development, you've come back for more. I mean, it's a very brave thing to do.
I think to say it was a horrendous affair was an understatement. It did go horribly wrong. I think everything that could have gone wrong with it did. It seriously nosedived to the extent actually we actually lost possession of the property. And yeah.
You had it repossessed?
It was repossessed.
So why have you bought this then?
You can make money and make a living out of it, providing you keep control. Who says? All the programmes do.
Oh no!
Stuart and Marge's last development went wrong because they lost control of their finances. And just looking at their figures this time round, I can kind of see why. The property cost them £161,000. Looking around, I think the £25,000 set aside for all the work is woefully inadequate. And they will have to break the ceiling price on the road to make their £205,000 sale price. But that will still only leave them a £19,000 profit.
I think your figures are quite tight on it, to be honest. I think your budget is quite tight. I think your resale's quite optimistic. And it doesn't need very much movement from either of those figures before you've made no money at all on this. Yeah. My feeling on it is that you somehow have to get your resale figure up. You've got to make this house stand out from all the others.
The property is a traditional two-storey Victorian terraced house. Upstairs, there's already a good layout of 3 double bedrooms and a family bathroom. Stuart and Marge are quite rightly leaving this floor alone. But it's downstairs where their plans go seriously awry. Here, there's 2 small utility rooms and a kitchen to the rear. And to the front, a smallish dining room and lounge. They want to knock through these 2 front rooms and move the corridor wall further into the lounge, all just to give themselves a wider hallway. One of the craziest things I've ever heard.
Once we walk in the front door, the first thing we have found is a very restrictive hallway. So basically what we're going to do is widen that wall and bring it further into this room.
By bringing this wall nearer to us.
So you want to take this wall down?
Yes, but bring it towards us. into this room. But we feel that the trade-off for that is the fact we are also going to knock this wall through into the dining room, so you will have a large lounge diner.
I don't quite know of a nice way to say this, but I'm just not sure that I'd do that if I was you. I just think that this is not a bad-sized room. You take 18 inches off it and you put a sofa in, and your feet are going to be in the fireplace when you're sitting on it. And ultimately, no one's going to buy this house who wants a big, spacious house, because it's not. That's not what it is. They're going to come through the front door and expect it to be sweet and cute, not big and spacious. And they're going to want a sitting room they can fit a sofa in.
But Stuart and Marge are right about one thing. They do need to make this house stand out from the neighbours, only not with a massive corridor.
One thing that hasn't been done to this house, where I think you would guarantee to get that over £200,000 resale figure, would be to knock out at the side here and and fill in the side return, so you had a really big kitchen breakfast room.
Back here, Stuart and Marge have a simple plan to knock the kitchen through to the utility rooms and create a larger kitchen. But I think they should take this idea much further by extending the ground floor to the side to create a fantastic kitchen diner with double doors leading to the garden. Ideal for the family market.
That could be the thing that makes this house be the one that people buy.
I'm just thinking of the knock-on effect with the costing. Love the sound of it, but then we just...
It will cost a bit
comes down
more.
to costings.
But I think if you do that, you could be looking at 210, 215. And if you don't do that, I think that you're going to be struggling to get anywhere near 200. It'll be 195 you'll get for the house.
It's definitely good food for thought there.
It's
I wouldn't have even thought of that.
No, no.
It's a shock in the fact that effectively Sarah believes we're concentrating in the wrong area.
A big rethink
Yes.
now, which we weren't expecting at this stage, I must admit.
In Ewell, Surrey, Matt and Michelle are also plunging headlong into a double or quits project. They've got ambitious plans to turn this 3-bedroom bungalow into a 2-storey, 5-bedroom house. Michelle is pregnant and everything they own is going into this project. So you'd expect this to be a development backed up by months of vigorous research.
Why this house? Why a bungalow?
I wasn't actually looking for a house, but it was bizarre. I drove around, saw it in the estate agent's window and thought, I've got to have a look at it. We came here the next day and made an offer on the spot. It just felt right. It just felt that there was opportunity. I mean, both of us felt that there was...
straight away, it just kind of, let's do it.
You know, it's the whole thing. We want this archetypical British life in the country, and I'm not going to get there on you know, a 9-to-5 job, so...
Matt and Michelle did next to no research about the area or the local housing stock, so bought the property practically blind for £272,000. They want to spend a sizable £152,000 on the project and sell for a massive £475,000. If they can pull it off, they'll make a tidy £51,000 profit.
So have you got all the money sorted to do this project?
I'm probably about 40 grand short, which I need to find.
That's quite a lot of money to just find. Where are you hoping to find it?
I mean, if I need to remortgage, I'll have to. I mean, on a very short-term credit cards I can play with as long as I can juggle correctly. Yeah.
Quite a lot of credit cards. A bit scary to take on a project like this when you're 40 grand short of finishing it.
I mean, hopefully I can make savings in there somewhere.
OK, well, let's hope so.
This is very scary developing. Matt and Michelle bought the property on a whim, are short on cash, and haven't done a full structural survey. In my opinion, they couldn't have their eyes more firmly shut if they tried. Matt Lawrence and his pregnant fiancée Michelle are embarking on their first development in Ewell in Surrey. They're investing £151,000 to double the size of the property, and even though they've started work, they still don't seem to have done their homework.
My personal feeling about this is that it's too small a plot for the size of house that you're planning on putting on it. And this area here, if you look around the cul-de-sac, they are little retirement bungalows, so I just wonder whether it's actually appropriate to try and get a big, fat family house.
We saw an opportunity, and I'm always one to sort of utilise space, and it might be that we've utilised too much space.
As it stands, the property is a small 3-bedroom bungalow on a smallish plot. Matt and Michelle want to build a large extension for a gigantic kitchen diner that will wrap right around the side of the property. They also plan to do a loft conversion, adding a 4th and 5th bedroom and 2 bathrooms. This is a massive development for 2 novices.
And I know this is quite annoying that I say this at this stage because you have started doing the foundations, but you don't need to extend it on the ground floor and do a loft conversion.
I'm probably not looking at it as a property developer. It's a learning curve. This is our first big property, and it may be we're bitten off more than we can chew.
I certainly hope they haven't. But not only are Matt and Michelle overdeveloping this property, they are also planning to save money by living there whilst they do it, despite some seriously scary deadlines.
How long do they reckon it's going to take, this project?
I'm hoping for it to be pretty much finished by the end of September. We're looking at a 3-4 month build. Michelle's pregnant, so I don't want it to go much more beyond that.
You're 3 months pregnant, so you're having the baby in 6 months, so you've got to get it finished in less than that.
Yeah.
I do think that you're likely to get this project finished quicker if you're not trying to live here. And
Hearing that makes me now think we're finding a flat.
We need to have a talk.
The stakes are high, but the research is seriously lacking. So I've asked Matt and Michelle to at least talk to some local agents and see if their big plans can carry the £475,000 price tag they want.
So once this is all done, obviously subject to finish, how much do you think you can get?
I would have thought 450 would have been an achievable figure.
I expect the property to be valued around 425,000.
If Matt and Michelle sold for £425,000, they'd make a profit of just £1,000. Surely now they've seen the light.
We're still going to go for it. We're going to have to radically control the costs, make sure that we don't overspend in any way.
You're on top of it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I wish I could share Michelle's confidence, because at the moment the only way they stand to make any money is if the market rises. 60 miles away in Aylesbury, work has started on Stuart and Marge Randall's Victorian property. I feel they really should extend their kitchen, and even though there isn't a spare penny in the budget, they've decided to go for it.
I think the side return's a great idea. The fact that it increases floor space is brilliant.
Our main concern is the fact of raising the capital, so I just don't know how we're going to afford it.
And you can see why they're worried. They've got a minuscule £4,600 for all the work and materials, and the rest of the budget is equally tight. There's £3,300 to rewire and replumb the entire property. Just £3,900 for both the kitchen and the bathroom. £2,000 has been set aside for new windows and doors. And a tiny £600 for furnishings and decoration. There's £8,000 for fees and costs, and a dangerously low £1,000 contingency, making the total budget just £25,000. Stuart and Marge are really up against it, so they have to spend their money in the right places. Having decided to go ahead with the extension, they really need to rethink their plans for the hallway.
It's basically that we're sort of feeling hemmed in there, aren't we?
I don't think it's as much of a problem as you think it is.
Even though Marge seems to have seen the light, she might still need a hand convincing Stuart. We want to avoid this project going the same way as their first disastrous development.
Well, it's great you're doing the side return, but have you made a decision about the wall yet?
Still undecided. I'd like the wall to stay, and Stuart wants the wall to go.
Yeah, the jury is definitely still out on that one. I'm still concerned with this as you walk in, this very restrictive hallway.
There'll always be compromises with any house, and you're going to have to make some compromises. It's just that the compromise of having a small sitting room to have a big hallway is not a compromise worth taking.
Stuart still doesn't look convinced, and I think he's in need of a serious reality check.
It's It's incredibly important to do your research and find out what the sort of people who are going to buy your house are likely to be wanting and expecting. And actually, there's lots of ways of doing that research that aren't always how you'd expect.
It's time to talk to the neighbours.
Hi, this is Stuart and Marge.
Hi.
And they were wondering if they could ask you a quick question about your hallway.
Hi there. Without it sounding too strange, are you happy with the width of your hallway?
It's quite a nice size as it is, and I wouldn't want it any smaller than it is already.
Would you prefer to have a smaller sitting room and a bigger hallway?
No. With children, it's more important to have a living space.
No, I'd rather stick with a small hallway and have a large living room.
Yeah, I forget.
Well, I think it just completely goes my way, really. I don't want to move the wall.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah, it does prove the point that it's not as major issue as I consider it to be.
So the wall stays?
Yeah, appears that the wall stays.
Yeah. Excellent, saving your money. Loving it.
Stuart and Marge also decide to keep the 2 front rooms separate. Great for the family market and more money saved for the all-important kitchen extension. In Ewell, the project is 2 weeks in. Matt and Michelle have taken my advice to move out of the development, but they've decided to stick to their plans to double its size.
Now is when it starts getting scary. The build work so far has been a few bricks and some foundations, but now my whole house is coming apart.
The work is cracking on, and with it the new layout is starting to take shape. But it's becoming painfully obvious that building a huge extension on the side of the property is going to throw the whole of the ground floor layout completely out of kilter.
Now that you're taking the gamble and you're going ahead with this, it's really important that you get the layout absolutely right.
The problem is that this is going to be a really big family house, but it's only got 1 living area.
Could take the wall between the 2 front bedrooms out and then have both of those rooms together as one big open plan separate living space, which means you've got this open plan space, but you've also got a separate drawing room, which actually, in terms of a family home, is kind of a much better layout, actually.
By knocking the ground floor bedrooms together to create a separate living room, the property now wins on both counts. And with plenty of space for a new bedroom in the extension, together with the 2 bedrooms upstairs, this makes a well-balanced 4-bedroom family home.
It's not something we thought of because we're kind of working with the walls that we've got, if you like. We didn't want to knock down anything unnecessarily.
In an ideal world, a family home has a kitchen living space and then a separate, slightly more formal living space.
It might be something that we can address as a dining area or alternate living space.
And obviously the clock's ticking. You're either eating too many currant buns or you've got a baby cooking fast.
There needs to be a bedroom at least for the baby in 20 weeks' time.
Are you, do you think you're going to make that deadline? Because it's not a flexible one, that one, is it?
Yeah, we're in line. You know, we should still have 2.5 months.
Looking at the site, Matt will have to work at breakneck speed to be finished on time. Under all this pressure, Matt makes a snap decision about the ground floor layout.
We've kind of got the plan for how we think the house is supposed to look. We've got nothing really to go in the room if we do take the wall down, so I've got to be honest, it's not a first choice option.
Not having a separate living room in this open plan house could knock thousands off its price. And it's beginning to look like they'll need the money because just 2 weeks later, there's very bad news. The floor downstairs may need underpinning to support the loft conversion above.
If the council decide they've got to be underpinned, it'll put the project back by 3 weeks and an extra cost of about £5,000.
It's just, you know, extra delay, extra cost. We can't start on other things till that's been done.
It's looking less and less likely this development will be finished before Matt and Michelle's baby is born. In Aylesbury, the development is 4 weeks in and on schedule, but Stuart only ever set aside a tiny £1,000 contingency, and when you're dealing with old properties, it pays to expect the worst. True to form, a couple of days later, the builder unearths a major problem. a Victorian well directly under the site of their new kitchen.
Basically, the side return may not even happen now. We just don't know.
Old wells like this often turn up in Victorian terraces and would have provided the main water supply to this and surrounding houses. They're usually fine to fill in and build over, but Stewart's builder isn't taking any chances until the district surveyor gives his verdict.
With regards to the implications on finding the well, even from a financial viewpoint, I think we've pretty much kissed all of our contingency goodbye.
And that's bad news, because this development is turning into a real money pit. The old sash windows at the front of the house are in a worse state than Stewart and Marge realised, and the pressure is on to come up with a cheap solution.
To me, the windows are sort of a cost issue, primarily. See, this is a prime example. Look, UPVC, I think they look good.
At the end of the day, Stuart, I know it's a cost issue, but I just don't think they look as good as wood.
Marge is right. In this area, the more authentic charm a period property has, the more people will pay. Old features like fireplaces and cornicing should be preserved wherever possible, and right at the top of the list are original sash windows. What's more, Stewart and Marge shouldn't be put off by the cost. Hiya.
The flu or anything.
I've got something to show you.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Guess what I want to talk about? There are some buyers that may be put off by UPVC windows, and that's a really big risk to take, I think. It is amazing how bad wooden windows can get, and you can still restore them. Let's go and have a look at them. Now, there's fantastic products on the market at the moment in terms of filler, which means that you can keep much more of an original window than you used to be able to. And these are easily restorable. They're not that bad. I mean, our grandfathers would have been able to restore this window themselves. We've just lost those skills along the way. You don't need to pull out old windows just because there's a bit of rot. I have spoken to a company that restores sash windows, and they can do all of these sash windows at the front and replace the two sashes for around £1,000.
We didn't think we were anywhere near that sort of costing for...
We thought we were around that just to replace this central one in the bay. But if it's £1,000 for the whole front of the house, then...
Will you go with that, do you think?
There's no thought process needed, I think.
No, I think
we're there.
I think so.
Oh, we get to keep our wood.
It's a battle won, but there's a very long way to go. Marge and Stewart still don't know whether the well is stable. And what's worse, whilst replacing the ceilings upstairs, Pat the builder has found a potential death trap. The top half of the chimney breast is floating in mid-air and urgently needs structural support to prevent it from falling down.
I think the best thing for that chimney, really, is to remove it.
That's obviously going to have a cost implication.
Around about £1,500.
Looks like we're going to be, well, putting our hands in our pockets again, Stuart.
With costs spiralling and the schedule slipping, Stewart and Marge simply can't afford any more nasty surprises. This development is literally hanging in the balance. In Ewell, the structure of their property is also causing Matt and Michelle a major headache. The good news is that they've avoided underpinning. The bad news is that coming up with the solution has taken 6 long weeks. Juggling his job as a gym manager with the project management is making Matt more and more stressed, and he's come to a momentous decision.
I had a long chat with Michelle about sort of my work, and we decided that it's worthwhile to put everything into this project. So I'm not working now. There's always the risk that, well, you haven't got a job, how are you going to earn your money? That's a gamble, you know, life's a gamble.
In Ewell in Surrey, first-time developers Matt Lawrence and Michelle Francois are taking a massive gamble. With their baby due imminently and the development uninhabitable, Matt has given up work, hoping to get the build back on schedule. He now has time to really get to grips with the project and decides to revisit my ideas for the ground floor layout.
I've got to give it up to Sarah. The wall's got to go. Did the research, worked out the pros and cons, and yeah, it's going down.
Creating separate living areas in a big family home is absolutely essential, so it's great to see the wall coming down.
It's opened up the room. It doesn't look that bad.
Opening up the second living room has also reopened a massive problem. Matt and Michelle risk making next to no profit on this entire development, so they have to make savings.
If we do have limestone or whatever sort of flagstone floors, I don't know that we're going to be saving that much money, but it separates this area from lounge area to entrance hall.
Their plan is to save money by only using the more expensive flooring in some areas, but this could look very disjointed. There's a danger of undoing all the good work they've put into their ground floor layout. Did you have any idea why I brought you here?
Well, it goes without saying the similarities with my house are very much in line.
Well, I actually wanted to show you some flooring. When most people think of flooring, they think room by room. But by using the same material throughout, it ties the place together, whether it's Ham House in South London or a 2 up, 2 down. I brought you here to show you that the continuity does give a sense of flow, and I think you do need that to get the maximum value for your house.
So you think it's worth investing the extra money and try and make savings elsewhere?
It's certainly worth having a really great flooring, because I think it's not really worth doing the whole development if it isn't finished right. So where are you with the budget? Because you did have a big shortfall, didn't you?
We're still probably 25 to 30 short.
Which is a lot of money to have to find. But I still think it's really important that you spend money in areas that are going to make the house look its very best.
Starting this project 40 grand short has now well and truly caught up with Matt and Michelle. 6 months in, the development should now be finished, but there's no money for the floor and there's no money to pay their rent either. They have no choice but to move into the development.
Financially, we're in, not in trouble, but we've run out of money. So we've borrowed from everybody we can possibly borrow from, banks and building societies and credit cards. We're still short, so I've got to look at other options. Painting is not a problem, but the floor is quite a big deal.
Matt desperately needs at least £4,000 to pay for a solid wooden floor. And unless he finds some money in double quick time, his baby's first home will be a building site. Back in Aylesbury, there are some pretty tough money decisions to be made too. Stuart and Marge started out with a totally inadequate budget and next to no contingency. First, they discovered the chimney was a death trap, and then they dug up an ancient well.
I mean, it's probably well over 100 years old, isn't it? So, I mean, we've got a building within sort of just over a metre, so it's proved that it's able to withstand the pressures from that.
So my extension can go ahead?
It can.
Oh, fantastic. Excellent. Oh, you don't know how pleased I am about that. Oh, good. Excellent. Oh, I'm happy boy again.
This is fantastic news. Without the extension, Stuart and Marge would have lost money on this development. It's £530 to fill in and cap, but at least it means work can really get going.
It's great to see the side return up with all the problems we've had with well and things like that. So we've gone from...
We've had a few obstacles.
Yeah, we've gone from possibly it not being built, but getting over it, and the bricks are there now, so it's good.
Finally, things are going Stuart and Marge's way, and to cap it all, their builder Pat turns out to be a good Samaritan in disguise.
Money was always going to be tight on this project for them from the very beginning, so I knew I'd have to sort of hold a hand, and there will be favours done to help them through.
For the £1,500 job to remove the chimney, Pat agrees mates' rates of just £770.
Basically, Pat is being a star. He's taking the same opinion as us, which is brilliant. He wants us to make a profit at the end of it as well.
On this development, though, trouble is never far away, and no sooner are they back on track then Stuart and Marge take an extraordinary decision.
OK, so we're 56 in the house,
Yeah.
4 in the bathroom,
Yeah.
and then 12 in the kitchen area.
Yeah.
So that's 72 downlighters we need.
Stuart and Marge are peppering every single ceiling in the property with downlighters. And while lighting is crucial in creating the right look for any development, that doesn't just mean sticking in a load of low-voltage downlighters and forgetting all about it. You're really set on having a lot of downlighters in the house, aren't you?
We are quite passionate about that.
I'm not anti-downlighters, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're the devil's work. but I just think that there's a happy medium. And downlighters are quite appropriate in a lot of kitchens and bathrooms, but just not necessarily in every single room in the house. Firstly, there's the look. Downlighters have a cold, minimalist feel, and as the light comes from above, it's not that flattering. Then there's the cost. At around £16 for the fitting and lamp, it's not a cheap option. Stuart and Marge's lights look likely to cost over £1,000 for the fittings alone. They'd be better to opt for a simple pendant light in each room and complement this with ambient side lights. It's a much softer and more cost-effective solution to their lighting needs. This kind of light is really flexible. It has the massive advantage with developing that all these side lights you can take with you to the next development. Ultimately, if you fit 70 downlighters and someone doesn't like them, either way, you're going to spend 700 odd quid just buying the lights, let alone fitting them, which isn't actually going to add any value to the property in itself. What do you reckon?
No, I think our compromise will be the fact that we are putting floor standing lights in the grown-up living room area and bedside lights in the bedroom area.
I'm going to have to roll over on something, aren't I? You've been so obedient so far. Back on site with the development now 12 weeks behind schedule, Stuart and Marge work round the clock to claw back some time. It's the final push. The paint's going on, the downlighters are going in, and the development is coming to an end. Stuart and Marge's last project went catastrophically wrong. Will this one fare any better?
The million-dollar question is, are we going to make profit? I don't know. I really hope we will. It's not for the faint-hearted.
In Ewell, Matt and Michelle are still doggedly trying to raise the money for the all-important downstairs flooring. They're now 2 months over schedule. Christmas has come and Christmas has gone, and that can only mean one thing. A new arrival to the family, baby Sienna.
Can't plan for it and can't describe what it's like when it's there. She's just a diamond.
She is, aren't you? You're beautiful.
The whole run up to Christmas was just chaos.
We just moved in. There was nothing.
Yeah,
we were like
no washing machine.
One tiny little fridge.
Didn't
with
have a kitchen.
A microwave. That was it, wasn't it? You look back now and think, how did we do it?
It looks like Sienna has brought a bit of luck with her, because a week later, Matt agrees a second mortgage and buys in solid oak flooring for the whole of the ground floor. Matt and Michelle can finally see their way through to the end of this development.
It's so close now, we can taste it. We managed to get the money, we were short, we borrowed. We're paying off a huge amount of debt at the moment.
You know, you have to take that risk and just go for it, really, which Matt, he's able to kind of do that, and I've just trusted him along the way.
I just hope for this brand new family that Michelle's trust pays off. In Aylesbury, 3 months over schedule, Stuart and Marge's development journey is over.
Hi, how are you?
And their Victorian cottage hasn't turned out badly at all. Youthful colours and a clinical finish gives the bedrooms a fresh, contemporary feel that continues into the family bathroom. And downstairs, the modern fittings and furniture are well judged to make a style-conscious young family feel right at home.
What a lovely room this is. And to think that at the start of this project, you were really quite fixed on having a wider hallway So you're going to take this wall down and move the wall forward. But then you would have had your sofa here, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That would have made this room really horrible.
It would have been very narrow. It wouldn't have been as pleasing a space to be in as we've got now. So
no, I think this was definitely the right call. You did a really good job.
Yeah.
Do you like the way it is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
It's the back of this house, though, that really scores. Extending the kitchen has created a stunning extra living area that is the perfect place for a family to congregate.
This is really good. It's amazing how small the house is at the front and then how big it ends up being at the back with this side returns. Yeah. And to think the well was over here, so actually not long ago I'd have been down the well right next to it, wouldn't I? How bad was it?
We lived well, yes. It was a roller coaster, to say the least, wasn't it?
That roller coaster pushed the budget up and up. Although cramming the house with downlighters is one expense that could have been avoided.
You have got a lot of downlighters in here. That was something you really stuck to your guns with, wasn't it?
We did listen to what you had to say, and we did take it on board. But
I mean, in here, I agree that I think it looks great, but I just wonder when you get to the bedrooms. Personally, I'm not sure I'd want downlighters in a bedroom, and from your point of view, it's a lot of money that is perhaps unnecessarily spent.
The big question is, how much did Stuart and Marge end up spending on the whole development?
Now, you were planning on spending £25,000 on this development. What did you end up spending?
We ended up spending about
49.
Your contingency was only a rather measly £1,000.
It was.
That was clearly inadequate.
yeah, that was fantastically optimistic. I think that contingency had gone before we walked in the front door. But it was all we had left in the bank, so we called it contingency because we knew you'd be happy with that.
Stuart and Marge's budget was never realistic to begin with, and it shows. The work and materials rocketed from £4,600 to £24,000. Plumbing and electrics rose to £4,200. The kitchens and bathrooms came in well over at £5,100, as did the windows and doors at £3,550. Furnishings and decor tripled to £1,750, and fees and costs went from £8,000 to £10,400. Overspending in every single category meant the budget nearly doubled, going from £25,000 to £49,000.
You were originally hoping to sell for £205,000, but you ended up spending £49,000 on the development, which would give you a £5,000 loss.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
Oh, we'd be very disappointed.
Thankfully for Stuart and Marge, though, things are looking much rosier.
We've had 3 valuations, and they've come in at £220,000, £225,000 and £225,000.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can relieve now.
Now, if you sold for £220,000, you'd be looking at making a profit of £10,000. If you sold for £225,000, you'd be making a profit of £15,000.
That's good.
I'm chuffed. The main object of this was to sort of get back on the horse after we'd been thrown off, wasn't it? So we proved that we can do it, and that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think you should be too disheartened with this, because as a family home, it has everything you could possibly offer, and because of that, I think that you may end up with people banging the door down for it.
Welcome in.
And that's exactly what happens. Following a bidding war, Stuart and Marge sell 2 months later for £250,000, making £40,000 profit, over double what they were originally hoping for. In Ewell, Matt and Michelle's bungalow conversion is also at an end, and they're about to find out if their oversized property will fetch the oversized profit they're hoping for.
Gosh, that is a stonking big house, isn't it?
In Youle a whole 5 months over schedule, Matt and Michelle's massive bungalow conversion is just about finished. But before we look at what they've done inside, there's the small matter of the outside. It's a massive house, but I mean, it still is on quite a small plot, isn't it, for the size of the house?
Now, what we've got to do is we've really got to sell it as an entertaining living environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's all quite kind of woolly words, this, to make someone want it, but the reality, I think, is that they look at the house, they look at the square footage, they look at the size of the garden, and they either be happy with the garden or not. One thing's for sure, though, the inside should go down a storm. A limited colour palette and simple modern furniture set off this contemporary open-plan space perfectly. And next door, the separate lounge gives the family all the flexibility they'd ever need. What a great room. So you've got this big entertaining space here, living room, and then the dining area, and a great kitchen. Really, for social family space, this U-shaped room is absolutely as good as you can get, isn't it? One of the reasons this works so well is the flow from the sitting room through the dining area and into the kitchen works because you've got this lovely floor that runs throughout all 3 areas.
We wanted to get the wow factor. It was a question of, could we afford the wow factor?
This site overran a lot, and I know that you were really keen to be in and it to be finished before Sienna was born.
We had no kitchen, no drinking water.
But it was great because Matt still cooked a full Christmas dinner whilst putting the kitchen together.
I was putting drawers together and stirring the turkey. So.
Anyway, and she's going to learn lots from the first few weeks of her life, isn't she? If Sienna ends up anything like her parents, she'll be trying her hand at design. Upstairs, the cool tones continue into a spacious master bedroom, an ensuite fit for 2, and a striking black and white themed family bathroom. It all looks very top-end and very expensive, and I'm beginning to see why Matt and Michelle ran so short on funds. Now, originally you were hoping to spend $152,000. How much did you end up spending?
I think it's about 168 we've come in at with a spend.
Which is actually pretty impressive to be that close.
Yeah.
But you actually started this £40,000 short, didn't you?
We actually spent less time on making the decision to buy this property than we have done choosing a pub to have lunch in.
Really, taking on a project when you have no idea when you're going to get, how you're going to get, or when you're going to get the rest of the money is risky.
We were going into around about 45 to 50 grand on credit cards alone. I was borrowing £100 from one to pay off another and 50 quid here and withdrawing £200 to pay builders that I'd owed, and it became a very severe juggling, game.
But it looks great now, and you've done a fantastic job. Now, you spent a total of £440,000 on this development, and you were originally hoping that you would sell for £475,000, weren't you? Which would give you a £35,000 profit. What do you reckon it's now worth?
If it's not over 5, I'll be upset. As long as it's tipped that 500 barrier sufficiently, then I'm fairly happy.
It's the fastest booming market that we've seen in the last 15, 20 years. The house that you bought would be now worth £100,000 more if to buy now than when you bought it. So actually it was a very lucky time to be owning. Just how lucky is down to its value.
Wow, this is totally unexpected. What a lovely sized room.
This is a separate reception room here, and for me, as a selling point of view, I find this room very interesting.
The slight drawback is the size of the garden. It is a little bit small for the size of accommodation.
I would value this house at £525,000.
I value this property at £550,000.
I'd market this property at £575,000.
Now, we have had 3 agents round to value the property,
and they valued it at 525,000, 550,000 and 575,000. So if you sold for the lower valuation, you'd make £85,000 profit. If you sold for the higher valuation, you'd make £135,000 profit. Would that make it worthwhile?
That was fantastic.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it's until it's actually sold.
When the money's in the bank, then unfortunately
Don't
I
get
celebrate.
Too excited. Yeah, exactly.
Matt and Michelle bought the property for £272,000. They ended up spending £168,000 on the development. And if they sell at the upper valuation of £575,000, they'll make £135,000 profit. But that's only if someone is willing to buy a large house on a small plot.
Oh, what a good room.
I do like this flooring. I really do like the flooring.
It brings the garden into the house, the way the doors open up that way.
It's a very 1930s cul-de-sac with a rather contemporary property on the interior, so that's not going to be good for me.
I mean, I'm really, really interested in it. We do have to discuss it a bit more, but I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Matt and Michelle may have taken a gamble extending this house so much, but by arranging the space so well, they've given themselves the best possible chance.
In the last year, you've created this amazing house and a baby to put in it.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot of things to have produced.
I think he's done incredibly well, and I think, you know, you should go on to do, you know, something else smaller.
Something else smaller. So more properties and more babies as well?
I think you want more properties. I definitely want more babies.
For the time being, Matt and Michelle decide to take a well-earned rest and live in the property for a couple of months before putting it on the market.
Both Matt and Michelle and Stuart and Marge went into their developments with their eyes firmly shut. But a combination of a truly explosive property market, together with being open to the odd suggestion, meant that they all came out smelling of roses. If the market hadn't been quite so remarkable, theirs would be a very different story.
Next week, I'm going back to see Mark and Tammy Howard in Harloxton as they go on to even bigger and more risky property developments.
Absolutely maxed out now. Where you thought we were taking a risk at Harloxton, now we are really, really up against it.